hello, hello. Let me see if this looks like it's working properly. Cool. So, let me see. I'm trying a new way to control this music, and maybe it's too loud. I'm trying to get it more accurate in my headphones, so I know exactly what everyone else is hearing, because it's hard to do it all at once. Well, welcome. Today is going to be a shorter stream. Got a time limit. But today is going to be a little something different. Today, we're going to put some stuff together. Mainly the 100i models that I have. Now, people who follow me on Twitter know that I started putting this together. And before I went radio silent about it, had a bit of an accident. The 100i that you see right here, well, I stepped on it on accident. Don't ask how. I don't even know how. But I broke some stuff on it that needs to be repaired. So we're gonna repair this thing first, and then we're gonna get to putting together the rest of the 100i's. So the 125A that I've started putting together. I did the stack up in the center and glued these side spacer pieces on, if you will. This needs to cure for a little bit of time, so I figured I'd just do it off camera because, you don't want to sit here and watch glue dry, which is probably what you're going to end up doing anyways, so, So, and then here is the 135C. And so I'm trying to get used to where the camera is, so I may pull back to my body and it makes it kind of awkward. So let me see if I can get a little bit more comfortable here. Let me see if I can get it to focus a little bit more on what I want to do. I'll just have to hold my hands out a little bit more, but this looks like it's actually working not too bad. So yeah, so we're going to put together, we're going to get as far as we can in 45 minutes, before I have to leave. So let's get started on this guy. So first things first, the damage on this. Well, I broke off one of the fins on the bottom right here. You can see it on the other side. I broke off the end of the wing, which has two winglets on it right there. And then I broke the tail off, which has this little spoiler thing that works as a, well, I don't know if it actually does anything, but it looks cool, and that's the origin style guide. So first things first, so I have all the parts right here for this, but I need to figure out how in the world I'm going to glue these back together. I'm pulling it in again. So that piece looks like it should be pretty self-sufficient if I glue it. So let's get some glue on this. Now, people might say, well, why are you using the 5-gallon canister of Type Bond? But in reality, they all come with the same wide mouth tip on it. So I either get a smaller bottle and use it up, or I get the large one and it lasts for 10 years. So again, I'm pulling back. I need to put the camera more top down in the future. See if I can improve the setup, because I'm no doubt going to do more of these model build streams. Well, A, because they're fun, and B, I do a lot of models. So let's see if we can get this to stay in there. So one thing we might do is we might swap between the new build and the old build, just under the guise that this is probably going to have some awkward drying time to it. Since I don't want to dry this and then start spinning it around and have it go everywhere and that piece unsettle itself. So that looks like that's going to dry just about good. Thankfully, where it's split, the wood grain is still there, and so it kind of fits itself back into the pocket that it was supposed to be in. So let's see if we can get this to a happy spot. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. So we're going to set this guy aside, and we're going to let that dry for a minute, just before I start touching it again. And it's just going to flop over there. As I said, one of the fins on the bottom is broken. You can see my little pile of broken pieces right here. So let's move on to the 125A. because, well, it's just got the main center spars done, and that's about it. So what I did previously when I constructed this one is I did the top first, and then I flipped to the bottom and did the bottom. The bottom has smaller pieces on it. And so if I do the top first, that should... Oh... I just realized something. Did I did. So I realized that some of the pieces needed to be slightly sanded, and, well, I still have my piece of sandpaper here, so I don't have to abandon you, which is good. And mainly, the only piece that needed to be sanded were these cockpit cowling pieces. So, as you can see on this one, there are these pieces that surround the cockpit glass, and here they are here. But as I found out putting this thing together for the first time, these pieces don't fit super well. They need to be lightly sanded. One of the things to keep in mind is that this kit's about 4 years old. I made this kit, took a bunch of photos of it, and then never put it together. And so this was all done on my old laser cutter with my old modeling techniques on my old 3D printer. And so ever since, I've kind of revised a lot of what I do to make things easier to put together, and just an all-out better experience. Because I constantly want to be improving, and I constantly want to be making better stuff. And so, having fixed a lot of that, so going back to this older model is kind of a blast from the past, but to a certain degree, I have to deal with the follies of my old self if I want to get this thing together. So if I'm trying to sand it to where I'm not like coating my workspace with wood dust. So these should theoretically just kind of see it just like that. So snaps in just like that. So once we get the other one, we'll glue it in, and then thankfully these pieces on top should flop together. So theoretically, we should be able to get the top pieces on this one done, move to the top of the 135C, get those ones done, and then go back to this. Actually, we could probably hit that between. So yeah, so I see that. So I'm trying to catch my train of thought. Today's a busy day for me, which is again why I'm not streaming for super long. But I decided like maybe 15 minutes ago that I wanted to do this, and so I had to break out the camera. I had to get it all set up. The last time I used the camera, I had problems while I was trying to use it. I forget what was wrong. It was something. Oh, it was a bad USB cable. It was a problem that I had never encountered before. Like you could get power through it, but you couldn't get data through it, and so the camera like plugged into it just wouldn't show anything, and so I was really confused. It was actually during an interview, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't figure out why this thing doesn't work, so you're gonna have to forgive me. But it all worked out in the end, and thankfully the other person was having connection problems at the same time, so it's the best of a bad situation. So let's see, does this actually... I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. These pieces are not having a great time, but we're gonna glue those in and call it macaroni. So let's get some of our good stuff here, and see if we can't get these held on. Now, with a lot of the newer stuff, my piece tolerances are a lot better. I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put this bottle. My piece tolerances are a lot better. The new laser cutter is definitely a lot more accurate. It's got with a more powerful laser, you don't have to dwell in the cut for as long, which means that your cut lines are more accurate. Because with the older laser cutter, which is less powerful, it needs to take more time to burn through the layer of wood. And I snapped it. Well, that's kind of disappointing. Well, it's not the end of the world. This piece will still go on just fine. Just have to glue it together. Yeah, as you can see, these pieces are kind of tiny. This is the smaller wood that I typically use, and this is a relatively small model for my typical setup. Like, the models I like to build are much, much bigger. You know, it's the benefits of this style of creating models is that you get this you get the ability to make something that's bigger for less time. You know, if people who get 3D printers are like, yeah, I can make everything, but at the same time, the bigger your model gets, the more time it takes to make the thing. You know, it's not exponential, but it's, you know, it's a volume, so it's 3 dimensions that are growing as your model grows. And so with this kind of 3D printing and laser cutting, I can still make I can still 3D print what I want to be high detail, but I don't have to, you know, I don't have to make the whole model out of 3D printing. I can laser cut a lot of the stuff, you know, and laser cutting's really quick by comparison. You know, I can have all the parts for a model laser cut in like 30 minutes, whereas opposed to the whole model would take like 40 hours to 3D print. So it all works out in the end. So there we go. So we got the cockpit cowling on. Now we need to do the cockpit surrounds behind. So these pieces right here end up going right here. Well, if it fits, yeah, this is probably another downside to the stack up air right here is you get a couple misfits, but this one should be easy. So I just need to sand a little bit off this bottom part right here. So this is what interacts with the engine inlet, if you will. So the 125A is the only one that has this engine scoop on top. If you go look at the photos of the 100 series, it's, you know, its specialty is that it's faster, it's interdiction, and so the 100 series here is relatively lackluster. The 125A visually has the engine scoops on top, and then the 135C has the cargo container here on the bottom. And so in reality, it's almost exactly 3 of the same model, but you know, I put in the minor differences just so that they're accurately represented, so people can't say I took the easy road. Okay. Let's see. Will you fit in here without a fuss? Probably not. We're just gonna have to take a little bit more off of that. Hopefully after these pieces go on, this will start speeding up a little bit, because like I said, I can't be here forever, and got places to go, things to see, well, traffic to sit in, most definitely. You know, it's you know, people often ask why you'd ever leave your house, and I wonder those same things. You know, leaving your house costs you money. You deal with the inefficiencies of the world, and you know, you could live the introvert lifestyle. Everything's at home. My computer's at home. My internet's at home. My models are at home. At this point, I'm just rambling. If people watching haven't noticed, I'm not like I was surprised the first couple times I streamed last month. I was able to just sit and monologue for an hour, and that's very atypical of me. Like I you know, when I'm modeling, I'm typically doing so in silence, you know, jamming out to music, and that's, you know, it's like that cathartic relaxation. You know, it gives you time to think and be by yourself and be within your own thoughts and whatnot. And having to speak. Like I've had the thought a couple times of like, well, I'm not really streaming for any reason other than just sharing what I do. And so like the idea that I would just sit here and be silent, like, yeah, I get that that is um, a inefficient way to stream. If you're trying to uh, stream to meet that ultimate goal of 11 billion followers and top 3 at Twitch and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm I'm gonna eventually run out of things to say, and I like it when I have guests. Guests are fun to talk to, and guests also take the burden of me having to like multitask, like modeling or assembling things, and then having to figure out like, well, what do I say? And then I was like, oh, crap, I gotta put the next pieces on. Yeah, and hopefully I'll get some more guests as time goes on. I mean, being January 2nd, like a lot of people are going back to work, and and so getting people's time is just hard at this time of year. So I'm assuming once we get into January, once things kind of slow down from the holiday season, I'll probably stream a little bit more regularly, and as I get back into doing some more models. I've been putting a lot of time into my own IP stuff. I've mentioned this before that now that okay, let's rewind this a little bit. So I finally went to CIG at the end of last year and said, hey, I told them what happened. I took down my design files for the models that I've done for Star Citizen in 2018 due to their policy changes in their EULA. And to be fair, I've argued with them because they argue that their policies never changed. I argue that they did to a certain, their attitude did to a certain degree, and so I took down all of my design files. They're still links. You can still go find the links to them, but I just disabled the ability for people to actually access the files on those links. So. And that was something that I did because it's like at the time I didn't have like the mental capacity to, if CIG wanted to come after me and say, cease and desist or whatnot, like that just wasn't something that I wanted to entertain. It wasn't a, I didn't think that it was worth my time at that point. So I took the design files down, and I've had a lot of people come to me since asking for those files, especially considering that there are a lot of them still online. At least there are a lot of links online, and there's a lot of pictures of them online. And so it's been something. So I finally talked to CIG. I sent CIG a message, and I was like, hey, I would love to re-enable these. I'd love to put them back out there. I'd love for people to once again be able to, enjoy what it is that I have done. And I basically got a no. And so they're going to have to stay down for the remainder of time. It's not to say that you can't still find them through different channels. The files were publicly available for a while. And therefore, I know that there are people that have them saved to their hard drives somewhere. So those could always be tracked down. But in reality, my Star Citizen, the Star Citizen work that I did, in the capacity that I had done it, has basically been ended. I think I'll still do a few ships on occasion. I definitely am going to be attending CitizenCon next year, and I'll probably do something for CitizenCon, whether I, make a model for it, or, to give out to friends, or, do something. I'll definitely do it. But, a lot of the wind in my sail has been knocked out from, just wanting to do something that I could share with the community, and basically being told no, and that sucks, because it's like, okay, I can do this and I can make models for myself, and that's fun. But at the end of the day, like back in the day, I really enjoyed it when, you know, people would show me them having made my models. You know, that's a really cool, really good feeling, and it just sucks not to be able to continue to do that with people, and that, you know, took a lot of my desire to keep doing those models away from me. So I've spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out my own universe, if you will. What did the play on the MCU, the RiceMaiden expanded universe, and to do my own thing, because at that point I own the intellectual property for it. I can do what I want, and so I've worked and plugged away at that for a number of years now, and I've designed my own models. I've done 3 now. I've built 2 of them, designed 3, and they're a really good learning experience in terms of this idea that it's like, wow, in retrospect, Star Citizen models are very easy compared to starting your own universe. Like with Star Citizen, it's like I just have to concentrate on creating a model and making it functional and look good, and, you know, being the best that I can do. But when you come into this and you go, I need to now create everything else that goes along with it. You know, there's a lot to think about. You know, it's like, I have this world in my head and I have these models I want to build, but how do I get people interested in it? Like, how do I connect people? You know, and I had the I had the realization the other day of why books are so good, because you go, like, how do I take this thing that I have in my head and make it so that other people can see what's in my head? And that comes in a variety of media. And I love art. Like, art is one of the ways that I would love to express kind of the models that I have in my head. But art is expensive, and art can only take you so far. Like, obviously a picture is worth 1,000 words, but if you write a novel, like, a novel to a certain degree tells a lot more story. You can tell a lot. It's a very efficient transfer of world building. And I had that realization the other day of like, oh, I could legitimately make a case for why I would write a book. And that's nothing. That's something I never considered before. But I'm like, well, if I want to build this universe and, you know, make this model and have people look at the model and say, I get it. That's cool because I read about it XYZ and I know it did XYZ in lore, and I have this connection to it now. A book's really great for that. And I was sitting and just kind of brainstorming, like, if I really wanted to consider writing a novel, how in the world would I do this? And so it's a very interesting kind of mindset of like, okay, well, you know, the engineer in me, the person that wants to design these models, now has to put on many hats in order to make this kind of dream become a reality. And I'm not saying that it's not a worthwhile pursuit. It's just it's a very interesting evolution of thought when trying to figure out, like, how did like what turned Star Wars from this, like, almost didn't get made film in the 70s to the cultural phenomena as it is today. And I'm not saying that, you know, the RiceMaiden expanded universe has to become, you know, Star Wars, but it would be nice to start having, you know, a community that is connecting to what it is that you're doing. So here we are. So the top of this 125A is now done. And so we can set this guy aside and let it dry in its current position. Now, I just want to make sure that nothing's dripping off of it. So let's go back to our 100i. So as we can see, the wing has been adequately repaired. No one will ever know, right? And so I need to do the stuff on the... Yeah, I'm going to do the stuff on the bottom now. So this little stabilizer... Oops. This little stabilizer fin broke. I keep dropping... These parts are tiny. Like, look at this. Where'd it go? It's just going to be the drop stream. There you go. That's like the tiny little piece that broke off. So this needs to go there, and then I have this winglet on the... Or this... Yeah, a little bottom winglet thing. This piece is even tinier, by the way. Like, I don't know if you can actually... Yeah, you can see that. Like, here we go. Let's go straight to the camera. Now, if I drop this, it's gone at this point. Yeah, there you go. See, little winglet. So I have to like... I have to successfully glue these things on without, you know, knocking them off my desk, and then they just fade into obscurity. When the model first broke, I literally stepped on it in this tray, and pieces went everywhere. And it took me probably a week to find all the pieces, because they'd just been scattered around where they were. So this little... I'm hoping I get this thing on here right. In all fairness, it's not... This is not a critical part. I'm going to say that's probably good enough. As long as you stay there and not cause me problems. Because the worst thing is if it, you know, it's being held in position by the stickiness of the glue. And so... If I were to like bump it, or the glue wasn't as sticky and it fell over, you know, it'd just be a giant nightmare. Like the winglets on this thing, you know, old design style, they're kind of held in place, you know, let's see if I can get that, you know, when you glue them on, they're kind of held in place by hopes and prayers. You know, they're obviously, if you look at the real thing, they're supposed to be at that angle. They're not perfectly upright, which is kind of a pain because you glue them in place and then you kind of hold them there while the glue starts to set. But if you don't have the glue perfectly kind of center where it needs to attach, the glue contracts a little bit, and so it pulls it to one side or the other. And so it's a very delicate thing, which is why a lot of my new models don't rely on the hopes and prayers model mentality. Very much a more mature, you know, use 3D printing to create supports for off angles, and just an all-around better experience for everyone involved. Mostly me, because I'm typically the one putting them together. I've had people ask me where the Scorpius is. I'm still working on the Scorpius. It was very busy holidays, so I'm sorry. I keep moving this off screen. That's actually staying in place decently well. So I might call that a victory. That piece, however, yeah, actually that's pretty good too. All right, so we're gonna set you here and let you dry. Let's move some of this over so it can be in camera. So yeah, so the Scorpius is coming along. I kind of hit a little bit of a hiccup when I was playing with it in game, and I found some differences between the in-game model and the concept model. In reality, I've gone through the deep dive of looking at all the things that have changed, and I realized that they're really not as bad as I thought. The biggest one that was kind of a weird... I'm not going to bother with this for now, just because all of its parts are right here, and all of this guy's parts are right here, and these are organized. You know, they're in their respective pairs, and this is not, and this is just going to be a nightmare to dig through right now. So we're just going to flip this guy over and continue building it. So I've got that rectified, and I just need to sit down and start doing some more work on the Scorpius. I would say it's maybe, I don't know, maybe 10-15% done. Like, you know, it's yeah, I want it to be good, but I think that in order to get it where it needs to be, it's going to take a lot of work, and so I just need to sit down and, you know, make the time to make it good. Okay, so let's see if we can put this together properly. So I think this is the part that I need. There are a couple kind of ambiguous parts on here. Let's see, what does this one look like? So I have the model open just so I make sure I don't make any mistakes here. Okay. Actually, you know what? I need to do the stack up back here. So when I did this one, there's a little stack up here that fills in. So there's a stack up here on the back that fills in kind of the gaps where because the engine's wider than this stack up of wood is. And so I need to put the remainder of the stack up there that fills it in. And I did that last time, and as you can imagine, you're trying to like fit it in around the wings. So actually, well, here's the example. You know, there's a stack up that fills in that hole. So I'm gonna do that now. I just gotta find. Okay, so I think I have all three of the parts right here, because they should be easy. It's just a, you know, the parts are just decreasing in size. Okay, so let's get our first part, and it goes in this way. Oh, shoot. It goes in this way. So, I had tweezers when I did this last time. So me using my sausage fingers is not the smartest play, but I literally threw the stream together in like, what in the world? Oh, the glue tip had sealed shut. That's fantastic. I need to figure out a better way of doing this. I have some syringes that are good for like dispensing fine amounts of things, but when I've played with it before, I found that I found that cleanup is a bit of a pain. You know, as you can imagine. Oh, this is gonna be a pain without tweezers. Just push that in there. Perfect. Clean up the glue a little bit. Perfect. So, what was I saying? Something about tweezers, and then, oh well, I've given up on that thought now. Okay, so the next piece goes on top of it. Again, I typically try to stay away from these like really tiny pieces, but this was kind of a problem with this model. And again, this is the small, like, one of the good things about the wood that I use is that the smaller wood, which is what the thinner wood, which is what this is, and the thicker wood is the same, is a multiplier of itself. So this is 1/16 inch thick wood, and the thicker stuff is 1/8 inch thick. So in reality, if I ever wanted to go back and make a bigger version of this model, I just have to 2x everything. Like, just take the model wholesale and 2x it, and bam, there's your bigger model. And I mean, all of these parts would be twice as big, so I would not be suffering as much putting this thing together, which is nice. But the smaller wood is easier to cut, and it's also, in my opinion, looks nicer because you can make it smaller. You can make more detail if you are designing for it. Let me see if I can get this piece in without... I am like pinching this piece with what little fingernail I have. in order to put it in place. Oh, I almost dropped it. I'll be taking off here in about 10 minutes. I've been invited to go play Dungeons and Dragons not Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering at a game store that's local. I played Magic when I was in high school and then didn't touch it for 16 years, something like that. So it's an interesting. So I've been invited to play Commander, which is a game type with with Magic the Gathering, and I'd never played it before, but everyone I've talked to has said that like the Commander rule set has been around since I was in high school, and so I was kind of confused because I'd never heard of it before. Did I? Okay, I did glue this on the right side. I was worried that, I'll get caught up in my own thoughts and glue the wrong side of the wood. All right. Put this in here. But yeah, so, Commander seems fun. I read the rule set and I was like, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Hearthstone with the whole Commander thing. Because I played a bunch of Hearthstone when it was, when it came out. But it's I don't know, it's interesting. I don't know if I'm a fan of new Magic the Gathering. I think my biggest qualm with having looked over it is that it seems like there's a lot going on. Like it's almost as if the game is trying to like the game that I played, the Dungeons and Dragons that I played, was very simple. It's like, you have a dragon. It's a 3/3 and has flying. And now I look at the cards and there's like a wall of abilities to where I feel like you need a spreadsheet just to keep track of everything now. It's almost like you can't like have simple creatures. Everything has to have like 5 alternative strategies that can go along with it just on the card itself. And I just don't like it. I don't know. There are times I want to play games in which I'm just looking to kind of tune out for a little bit. Like obviously I'm there, I'm playing, and I'm trying to have a good time, but I don't need it to be a job. It can just be like having a good time. Like for example, like I enjoy playing Red Dragon Inn. Really fun game. It's thematically, it's like a tavern and adventurers just chilling after an adventure, and that style of game is appealing to me because it's just you're there to have a good time, and when it comes to like, sorry, I keep pulling this back and you can't see it. When it comes to those types of games, it's like, oh yeah, I'll whip that out and play that anytime. But I have other games like Scythe and or Catan or Root, and they're games that you have to sit down and really really think about. And there's some games like Wingspan that would actually benefit from me having a spreadsheet open while I played the game. And there are times in which that isn't what I'm looking for, in a gaming session. That isn't why I sat down to, play games. So I definitely, I'll be definitely interested to see kind of what I think about playing Magic the Gathering Commander. I hope that it's not super like I'm getting lost in what's going on. because this person has a billion cards in front of them that I'm not sitting in front of, and I'm gonna read them, and then it's gonna go in one ear and out the other, kind of thing. Uh, so we'll see. We'll see what I think of it. Be definitely be an experience. I'm hoping it. I'm kind of hoping I don't like fall for it per se, if that makes sense. Like I'm hoping that I'm not a like, oh yeah, this is really fun, I should invest in Magic again, because I don't know, I don't need to invest in Magic again. I have my own board games. I've moved on. The collect 'em all stuff is cool, but I you know I have very few things in my life that are like that right now, and I would prefer it to be stay like that and stay manageable, because that can when you're in high school, you have a very finite income, if you will. So your ability to kind of like you pick and choose. You collect what you're interested in, and what you have the most, what you want the most. And when you become an adult and all of a sudden you have like a lot more disposable income, you start going, oh man, this could be really bad if I got into this. All right, so we're building the rear of this thing up. So we just put on. So we're gonna kind of do this like stepped, bottom plates and then side plates all the way down the ship, because at some point, I have to set kind of where that stack up begins, and thankfully those rear engine extensions back here set that point, so that we can build off of it. So let me get some glue on this, and we'll start moving this guy forward. I'm hoping that here in the next 5 minutes or so, I can get the entire underside of this model done, so it can dry, and it can, and I can take off in a good spot, of this drying, and crap. All right, where are you supposed to be? You go a little bit forward. I'm just trying to get this part positioned perfectly. Cool. So we'll let this guy dry right here for a fraction of a second. So this piece is important because it's part of what holds the wings. It's like the secondary wood piece that, as you can see, the wings kind of don't have a lot of biting area. It's a problem with my old design style, is there's just not enough support for some things. And so making sure that this piece is in the right spot will help a bunch when we go to put the wings on. Okay, hopefully that'll stay there while I do the other side. Yeah, like this. What else? Since I got 5 minutes left, you might as well go into the deep dive of something, but in reality, I can't think of a whole lot. Wait, is that right? Yeah, that's right. Good. So in terms of CitizenCon, I guess I'll talk about what I've been thinking about. Something that's been on my mind for a while. So the last CitizenCon I went to, which was in 2018, I did a wooden carrier and 6 dragonflies, so 6 drake dragonflies in their own carrier boxes, for friends of mine. And so I gave those out, and it was a great time. I had a ton of fun, and I will 100% be attending CitizenCon again this year, because I had such a great time last time. And for various reasons, I didn't get to meet as many people as I wanted, and so I'm really looking to make this trip well worthwhile. I want to be there a little bit longer. I want to see the people that I want to see, and just have a great time. And I think setting myself up to do so a little bit earlier on will pay dividends. But in terms of like the models, I will probably pick something and make some models for friends to give out when I go. But the other thing is going to be that I will need to. There's a few things. There's one thing that I'd like to do for myself, and I've thought about either making like a hat with a ship on it, so that I like literally have a plane flying above the crowds, or I thought about making a backpack that was just a ship, and I kind of had the thoughts of doing a retaliator. So doing a big retaliator, because it's kind of got that aspect ratio of a backpack, and doing a retaliator that'll just be on my back the entire time. So that's kind of the two things that are on my mind for that, and hopefully I'll figure it out closer to, and make sure that I actually have plenty of time to finish it, because it's not going to be something I'm going to be able to snap my finger and do last night again like I did last time. So, well, cool. Well, that gets us to right about 45 minutes. I'm gonna call it here. I didn't get as much done as I wanted, but I'll be back to finish these. I probably won't do any work on them off screen. But yeah, we just got to put the spoiler back on this guy, and then the 100i is back to being non-stepped on by my foot. The 125A, we're building out the bottom part. And then once this is done, we'll move to the 135C over here, and we'll get it together. I'll pull out all the parts from this and organize it so that it's not a pain, because like having to rifle through here and be like, okay, where's the second one? It's kind of annoying, and not doing that on stream would be beneficial for everyone involved. So I will make sure to take care of that. I touched this. I need this to dry. I need to stop touching it. Okay. So yeah, so I'll be back. I'll be back probably later this week to finish this off, and we can go from there. So thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you all next time. Peace.